if they expect me to walk away from Luton with nothing, I'll make very sure there's nothing to walk away from.
Hello and welcome to the Oak Road Hatter podcast. I'm Billy Mully, joined today by Jamie Castle and Kieran Robertson following yesterday's 2-1 defeat against Burnley. Jamie, how are you getting on?
Yeah, still a bit down if I'm being totally honest after last night. It's just the manner of the defeat more than the performance. I think just the high of equalising down to the low of a minute and 5 seconds later. It's hard to get your head around, but no, big game on Saturday. I'm looking forward to welcoming Spurs to Luton.
Yeah, as Jamie said, 100-0 very, very quickly. Kieran, how about you? How are you getting on?
Story of our lives, isn't it? 100-0, and then we'll go 0-100, I imagine. I'm not doing too bad. I spoke to a Spurs fan this morning and he looked at me. We were both watching the highlights at work. And he looked up and he looked at me and he went, "Oh yeah, you're the Luton fan, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he went, "I'm scared it's going to be Spursy on Saturday." So it's boosted me a little bit, but not looking good, bruv. Not looking good.
It would be quite Spursy, to be fair. Today, we're going to go through Too Good, Too Bad from Burnley game. We're also going to go through our own analysis before previewing Spurs, which is, of course, 12:30 on Saturday back at Kenilworth Road. Starting with Too Good, Too Bad then. Thank you, everybody that got in touch via Twitter, via Instagram, via Facebook. The first one here today, we've got Joseph Impey, who for his Too Good. Mengi looked incredible. Adebayo got his first Premier League goal. And then Too Bad, VAR and Bell's injury. And then Charlie also on Twitter. Ogbene, class again. And then Mengi and Burke unscathed and both played quite well. His two negative aspects were Kabore looked off it again on the right side, and the Bell injury could be costly in the long term. Then we go on to LTFC Reese. Eli scored his first Premier League goal. Mengi looks a quality player. And then his negatives were our defence was poor yet again, and we couldn't finish chances. And then finally, Josh Hammond. Mengi and Burke getting through most of the game unscathed. Bell going off injured and no one there for second balls. Breaking it down, Jamie, looking at what everyone's gone for, the key themes are Adebayo's first goal and Mengi playing his first game from the start, looking good, looking strong, won a lot of his duels, but also looked quite good on the ball. What impressed you most about Mengi last night?
Yeah, I thought he was good. I think a lot of people saying he was exceptional. Probably for me, it was a bit over the top. I thought he was good. I thought he was a solid 6.5, 7 out of 10. But I think that's all you want is someone that was brought in as a backup primarily. I mean, but Burke was always going to be that first choice on the right. Clearly wasn't fit enough to start, but then obviously was thrown in Bell's injury. But yeah, he's exactly what we want from a centre half on that right, where brave on the ball, always offers that option for the keeper and for locks when they're on the ball to play it from the back. And yeah, for a first Premier League start at home, I thought he was good.
And Kieran, within all that Too Good, Too Bad, a lot was said of Eli getting on the score sheet. Obviously didn't start, but came on and what with grown used to in the last few weeks is Eli coming off the bench and putting in good performances. He'd done that again and got his reward with a goal.
It's about time, because I think it's been a few weeks where he's needed to sort of silence a few doubters. I think there's a lot of people that when they approach Eli as part of the team, they look at it as, well, he doesn't score goals, so therefore he mustn't be in the team. But that's like a general thing that a lot of people say about strikers, but then they don't tend to say that about Carlton Morris, for example, right? Until Saturday. And it's one of those things that it's like, strikers, yes, one of their primary jobs is to score goals, but that is not the only thing they are there to do, which is why strikers play in partnerships, right? If a striker's playing lone up top and you say got two either side of him, that's their job to provide for the striker. If a striker's playing in a pair, which Eli and Morris, when Eli comes on, it's a pair, one complements the other and vice versa sometimes. That's the whole point. Eli's role is not strictly stand up there, wait for the ball, turn, shoot. His role is so much more than that. He brings defenders out to allow other players to come in and create space and therefore create chances. Drifts wide. He's almost like a wide target man, because then it gives Kaminsky something to aim at. And then it's all about getting that second ball out. So a lot of the criticisms and a lot of the doubts that people have had over Eli, I think, were proved wrong last night. I think as an impact sub, definitely the right decision yesterday, as proves he come on and scored. Whether that's sort of something that Rob now goes with is the change of dynamic and the change of structure that we can have if we're chasing a game like we were yesterday is left to be seen. But I don't think his days of not starting should end there. I think he should at least get some sort of chance back in the first team at some point.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this Eli in the wide left role. I think he's tried to play Corley Woodrow there a couple of times, either wide left or wide right, and I just don't think physically he's up to the task. I think Corley's a great technical player, but he should be put in a position where he can impact games, which for me is through the middle, either as a number 10 or as number 9. But Eli, I think physically he can absolutely play in that wide position. I think the way he can drag a centre half wide and basically nutmeg them and get round them or beat a fullback or wing back. I think he can do that all day long. And being paired with Doughty for the last sort of half hour or so, I thought it was excellent. And I would definitely like to see that more often, especially chasing the game, playing on Bene wing back with Brown right wing and then Eli on the left with Doughty. That is sort of like the two wide pairings is really good.
And one of the other comments was Ogbene looked class again. And we've spoken about Ogbene in isolation, how good his performance was against Wolves and then against Everton. Jamie, just the fact that it seems to be a consistent level. We're getting 7.5, 8 out of 10 performances out of Chio at the moment. That's exciting considering he was a player that at the start of the season looked like he'd be in rotation. We've, switched to formation now and suddenly he becomes really the main man.
Yeah, I mean, I think now behind the spine of Kaminsky, Lockyer, Nakamba, Morris, who are all sort of pretty much guaranteed starters, I think for me he's next on that list in terms of almost playing himself into the undroppable territory, the way he's putting in performances, the way he's impacting games. And I think the narrative in recent weeks has been purely pace driven. I think, yeah, he's absolutely rapid, and that is absolutely in his sort of his top 3 characteristics or as a player. But he does so more than that. It's the way he presses and the way he can just run at a fullback or wing back and be brave on the ball. So yeah, he is rapid, but he is also so much more than that. And I mean, if I was Irish and an Irish fan, I'd be really excited to see him in that national team setup and see what he can do on that stage. And I actually might start watching a few of the Ireland games just to see how he does against the best. Because yeah, I mean, free transfer from Rotherham. Clearly, obviously, we've had people in that bracket like Jordan Clark, for example, on a free transfer, Amari Bell on a free transfer, and yet again we've done it with Ogbene from Rotherham. Absolutely fantastic bit of business, and yeah, like no matter what happens with us this season, he's going to be a shining light and will impact either in the Premier next year or the Championship.
Going on to our own analysis of the game, we'll go from the very start. I think we can all agree Burnley started the better side. I think, in my opinion, they tactically dominated the first half. The amount of spaces that Sander Berger in particular picked up, received the ball, and basically had the space in front of him to drive into and create. It was evident that was addressed at half time, but I think it was, as I mentioned, fair to say that Burnley deserved to go into the break 1-0. The goal itself, difficult to concede, difficult to make sense of really how Berger did get the amount of space he did. But Foster took the goal well. Jamie, what did you make of the goal? Is it another one that we can put under the bracket of avoidable? Is there anyone at fault?
Definitely avoidable. I thought they played through us too easily in that first half. I think before the game we were looking at the wide areas being important, but I think Burnley almost flipped the game on its head and tried to dominate that midfield where they knew we'd have that double pivot. And there was a warning before with Berger where he literally had the freedom of Bury Park in terms of being able just to run up the pitch, and thankfully we got away with it. But then a couple of minutes later it happened again, through to Lyle Foster, and a great finish to be fair to him. But I think, so I guess mistakes-wise, midfield needs to fill that space, and secondly, I think Locks again. It seemed for me it's a bit like the Neto goal where the ball just almost gets stuck under his feet, and it just goes beyond him. And Locke, he could have got like a nick on it to get it away, but just couldn't manage it. Foster gets it in behind and a good finish. So yeah, no one sort of one individual to blame. I think again, just team wise, tactically, just not quite up to speed. I think a lot of the player narrative after the game was in terms of communication on the pitch, and if that is, then they obviously they need to talk more in terms of where people are, because in the way we are in terms of man to man and pressing all over the park, you just need to communicate and just make sure we don't leave a gap, because if we do against Spurs on Saturday, then we are in big trouble.
And Kieran, there was a clear momentum shift going into the second half. We were quicker to loose balls. We really used Kenilworth Road to our advantage, deservedly drew level on 84 minutes. Adebayo, as we mentioned, came off the bench, done well to direct his shot goalwards. Combination again of subs. I think it was Burke that nodded it down from a Chong cross, and obviously it was Adebayo who put it into the goal. Seeing subs make that impact again is a positive. And the second part I want you to answer is, can you see Adebayo starting in that left wing role? Do you think, or Bene on the right, do you think that there's potential that we could start like that, or do you prefer seeing it from the bench, seeing him come on from the bench and make the impact that he has been making?
It's tough, isn't it? Because there's a few times where I've spoken about players and said, do they look as good because they're a fresher leg against someone who's been playing for 70, 75 minutes? Would that then have the same impact from minute one? Maybe not. There's clearly something that Edward sees in having Ogbene and Brown either side of Morris. But I think if you put Eli in from the start, he's that sort of player that drifts left anyway. He's always been that sort of striker that drifts to the left and comes back in. So what's to stop us from having that from minute one, sort of having that inside forward? Because Ogbene tries to do that. He can do that from the right as well, but also he can be a crossing threat on that same side, on the right. And then if you've sort of got an Ogbene cross or a Kabore cross with Morris and then Eli coming in from the left, because that's just what he does, goes out, comes back in, I think that's actually more of a dangerous prospect. And one of the things that we've struggled with as well, we've spoken about it briefly, is this lack of second ball movement. The ball goes up, we don't win it, and everyone's just staring up, and then the ball bounces again, and then we've lost it and it's gone. But you need that someone who, if Eli doesn't win the first ball, every time, bang, he's back up, he wants the second one. Or at least if he's winning the first, he's nodding on in a positive direction. That's what I want to see. So personally, I want to see it at least experimented at some point. Have that front three of Ogbene, Morris, Eli from right to left. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at the end of the day, we're in that situation where we need to see what's effective. And in the 10-15 minute spell that Eli had on the pitch, that was effective.
We'll go on to the eventual winner coming just a minute after Adebayo's leveller, the sucker punch, the real joy killer. As we mentioned, it was from 100 to 0 very, very quickly. And we've mentioned there, Luton subs making an impact. Well, Burnley replied with their very own version of that, with Jacob Bruun Larsen cutting in from the right wing. Brilliant effort. Can't fault Kaminsky. I don't really attach any blame to Burke, who was the closest defender at the time. It was just one of those displays that we've seen recently where a team are very, very ruthless. We can have all the opportunities in the world. I think, again, it was 18 shots, 15 in the box, but it was a bit of magic that eventually won it. It was, Jamie, coming to you, it was a very good strike and all that, but how do we get past this issue of teams being ruthless against us and us having all these opportunities and not really seeing the joy?
That is the $1 million question, isn't it, Bill? I think ultimately, if Edwards had the answer to that, he'd resolve it straight away and win games in the Premier League. I think it's, for me, a little bit of an acceptance of where we're at. I mean, if you look at what Burnley spent, they've got players that can do that, as do a lot of the teams in this league. Do we have a player that can run at a centre half, sort of nip in on his left and then curl it past the keeper? Probably not. I mean, Tahith Chong probably could be in that bracket if he gets some games, but we've not got really anyone of that technical quality, I think, at this point, and that's just where we're at. I think that's nothing against any of the players or recruitment. It's just based on budgets and I guess the gap between us and these sort of teams. You had like Nathan Teller for Burnley, that like there's no way we could have got someone like a Teller last season, for example, and likewise that they've got Bruun Larsen on loan from Hoffenheim, and it's just it's the beast that is the Premier League. So yeah, it was a sucker punch. I think I agree, and with your analysis of the goal, don't attach too much blame to Kaminsky. If you do, you're probably nitpicking a little bit. And then Burke stays with him most of the way, but fundamentally a tricky wing is always faster than a 6'4" centre half, and he's always going to get that burst of pace in front and get a shot away. So yeah, it's just, as you can tell, I'm a bit down about it because it's just one of those frustrating things that we just need to almost accept to a point. Because if Edwards had the answer, I'm sure he would answer it by changing things. Just need to make most of our chances, because we definitely could have been 1-1 or even 2-1 ahead earlier. But we're coming away talking about defeat, so it's tough.
Very tough. And sticking with you, Jamie, Colton Morris yesterday, you sort of questioned him against Fulham. He didn't have the best of games. I think effort-wise as well, he was, not as of a willing runner as he typically was. But I think yesterday I think we have to point out, he was very good. He was occupying both for centre-backs. He was winning his duels. He was pressing high, clever with his footwork, and just all-round intelligent in his play. It was a very good 90 minutes for him, and quite unfortunate that he didn't find the back of the net again.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, captain on FPL, gutted he didn't get a goal, because that would have been very helpful in the rank. But yeah, I thought all round he was a good performance. Still, I think there's still parts to his play that I would like him to improve. I think sometimes he probably moans a bit too much at his sort of centre halves or fullbacks or midfielders to get up and help him. But I guess being that sole striker is a bit tough at times. And yeah, on the second ball, I think as Kieran said earlier, he probably can be a bit more alert to second balls at times. But yeah, again, that's me nitpicking. I think generally he was very good and a lot better than he was at Fulham, and that's the sort of performance that we want him to put in every game, and hopefully the goals come. And okay, yeah, again that's a bit harsh because he scored 3 of our 5 goals this season. So That's also tough to put on him. But yeah, I think sometimes he probably could pull the trigger a bit earlier and have some more shots on goal. Is probably my only, I guess, comment, because I think he's got the ability to pull a long shot off and get behind the keeper. I think he did it 2 or 3 times last season. So I think he almost just needs to back himself a bit more.
That is it for the Burnley review. We're going to move on in part 2 for the Tottenham preview. Be back in a few. We are back for the second part of today's episode. We are going to preview the game against Spurs on Saturday, 12:30, of course. And after a little bit of a disappointing result, it is a very good opportunity for our bounce back ability to be tested. We've done it in previous years where hope has seemed to be lost and we pull out a performance and result that nobody really sees coming. Could that be Saturday, Jamie?
Why not? Wolves beat City, but against all odds, and I think it's the same sort of matchup. I mean, let's not make any bones about it. Spurs have been excellent so far this season. Okay, they've had a few fortunate results in terms of actually getting the result, but I think by and large their performances have been fantastic, and they deserve to be in the top 4 of the league. Signed really well. Maddison, obviously, as someone that follows England home and away, I've been calling for him to be in the squad for some time, and yeah, he deserves the move, and he's showing what he's capable of. But we all know what Spurs have done previously. We all know what Luton is like, and it's almost a perfect game. I think after the down of the Burnley defeat, if you need a game to pick you up, it's a game against one of the so-called big boys, and that's what we've got. The players should be right up for it. If they're not, then why the hell are they in the Premier League? So it's almost a perfect game. And whilst they are a fantastic side, they've got some weaknesses to try and target.
Kieran, it's 17 points from 7 games. They sit in second place, 1 point shy of Man City. It's not very Spurs-like when you consider them last few seasons, but we hear this phrase all the time, a bit Spursy. And this is the potential, a real good fixture for this Spursy tag to potentially be used again.
It is, and they have looked really scary. I'll be the first to say it, like very scary. I've watched a couple of their games when they've been on, all the highlights. They look like a bloody wonderful team, and fair play, because a lot of people doubted Ange Postecoglou, and I work with and know quite a few Celtic fans, and they absolutely love this football. And I knew full well that appointment would be the perfect appointment to sort of get rid of that sort of crappy football mentality that a lot of Tottenham fans have been used to. Just, oh, we got Conte and we know his football's crap, but fine. No, you've got someone who's just really ambitious in their management style. That's just like, no, quite literally, no, mate. Like, we'll just do it my way, and we're going to completely revolutionise it. And it shows, because they're basically top of the league. The scary thing for me is the only game they've looked very Spursy in was Sheffield United. And Sheffield United were 1-0 up towards the end. And it was only with the help of 10 minutes added time that they actually snuck away with 3 points. So there's that little seed of doubt where you think, well, if they're going to struggle against Sheffield United, but they're going to make teams like Liverpool look like crap, do we fit in that Sheffield United category of they're going to struggle? I spoke to a Tottenham fan this morning, sort of alluded to in the sort of intro, and he was suggesting he thinks we're actually going to beat them. We're either going to beat them or just stick 11 men behind the ball. And I was like, trouble is, mate, Luton aren't the team to put 11 men behind the ball. Like, we just don't do that at all. Do I fancy our chances? I'm actually going to be the pessimistic one. I'm going to say no. Only because of the circumstances, in that if they win, there's a high chance they're top of the league going into the international break. and that puts them in a phenomenal position. Does no wonders for us. Let's be real, but yeah, the prospect for them of going top. Yeah, as long as that old Watford pony Richarlison doesn't score, fine. But the rest of them, it's a scary prospect. I'll be honest.
There was a few of us, weren't there, that had him as our villain of the season. So yeah, hopefully he doesn't come and thrive in the atmosphere at Kenilworth Road. Jamie, just going back to what Kieran was saying about what he's seen from Tottenham so far, and that is some very good football, some very good attacking play, but they do commit a lot of players forward, and sort of when they're playing around in their own third. I know it was against Arsenal. Arsenal are a wonderful team themselves, but they do take risks in possession, and come to Kenilworth Road, there could be potential for us to really force them into problems and have a event at Kenilworth Road where we are really, really on top of them and force them into mistakes ourselves.
Yeah, but I think that that's just the way we play. That's not just about Spurs. I think we'll do that to most teams this season in terms of forcing mistakes and winning the ball quite high up. I think if you look at playing out from the back, you've got Porro, Romero, Van Ven, and Udogie. Porro, I think, I was again speaking to a Spurs fan at work, that they see him as probably the main liability in that back four. Romero is always at risk of a mistake or two, or who knows if Carter Morris can get in his head, maybe getting booked early. So they can be got. I mean, they've got a midfield two of Sarr and Basuma who are basically back from the cold last year, where Sarr and Basuma barely got anything or any chances under Conte and Jose before that. Basuma was fantastic for Brighton, but he's not really had a chance since coming to Spurs. So that midfield two is still fairly new as a pairing. So can we get at them? And then, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of a front four, it's a very good front four. Obviously, Kieran's mentioned that Watford pony, but then you got Maddison, Son, whether he plays through the middle or out wide on the left, Kulusevski. They've got Solomon as well, who can come in. So I think there's strengths all over the pitch, but players that have made mistakes in the past as well. So it's going to be a really interesting game just to see how it all plays out.
And you mentioned some of the attacking players there. Kieran, is it James Maddison, the one to watch? Is he the player that will, if Luton play a somewhat of a low block, is he the one that will unlock us? They've got Brennan Johnson as well, who's getting some game time now. Son, we all know, world class. They do have some exciting talents, but who will Rob Edwards be telling the Luton defence to keep a close eye on?
I think for me, I'm actually going to go away from Maddison, and I'm going to, as dangerous as he is, that kind of goes without saying. I think Son and Richarlison is the pairing that I'm sort of scared about, where Richarlison started up front for the season and Son was out left, right? And he was not scoring goals. The rest of the team was still scoring, but Richarlison was missing every chance under the sun. Now, when you're the lone man up top in any team and you're not scoring goals, automatically you just have this big barrel of pressure thrown at you. He's now switched Son and Richarlison around, where Son's up top and he's scoring goals. But what you've noticed with that is Richarlison's a lot more influential in play now as well, playing on that left-hand side. He's got a few more assists. I think he has actually bagged the goal as well. So, fine, that drought's been ended. But I think, given that there's a lot less pressure on him, everyone knows Son can deliver up top. He bagged the hat-trick the first game they slacked him up top. But that sort of pairing where you've got a Richarlison with no pressure, no doubt he's a bloody good player, and Son, who is world-class in that position, Harry Kane or not, they still look dangerous up there. So Maddison kind of goes without saying, and the Camber's going to have to do an absolute bloody job on him. But Richarlison and Son, it's one of those where you look at the pair of them, you've got to get into them. That's where the fright is for me personally.
Jamie, let's talk Luton. We've seen this 5-2-3 become the new and improved formation. It's the one that we've deployed for both home and away games, and we've seen a fair amount of success. We've seen improvement whilst being deployed under that. Do you still think for a game like this is the way to go? Someone like Kabore has struggled recently. Could that, force Bene as right wing back and then congest the midfield with another player, given the difficulty Marv and Pelly had? Do you think 5-2-3 is still the way to go, or can you see there being somewhat of a switch up?
No, I think you can't almost overreact or knee-jerk based on one performance in terms of the midfield. I thought the 5-2-3 at Everton was fantastic, and it would be more of that kind of game than a Burnley game was. I think it's going to be more of an away type performance than a home one. So for me, I'd stick with the 5-2-3. I said before that I think Porro and Kulusevski can be got at. I think Porro is great going forward, but not the best defensively. And same for Kulu, he's good going forward, but is he the best at tracking back a fullback? No, probably not. So if you've got Doughty and Bene on our right or on our left, sorry, and their right, I think that can be a great chance for us to get in behind. And then in terms of that midfield pair, I mean, Kieran mentioned the Campbell Maddison. I think it would be more Lockyer on Maddison, and then you have Burke or Bale or Anderson tracking Son. I think it's that Sarr Basuma v Pelly Nakamba matchup, and yeah, I mean Sarr and Basuma are a great pair, but again, I think if we play that like we did against Everton, I think we can also try and win that midfield battle as well. So I don't see the need just to switch up. Ultimately, Spurs play the same system basically as Burnley did and Everton did, and it was two different performances from us. So I think it's more in terms of how the individuals perform rather than the technical setup like itself.
Let's go up to some lineup predictions, and I'll come to you first, Kieran. As always, there's lots of player dilemmas, whether that be performance-based or because of injuries. So who would your starting 11 be for the visit of Spurs this Saturday?
So I'm going to go a little bit different based on recent performances. So Kaminsky's in net, standard. Doughty right wing back three of Mengi, Lockyer and Anderson, with Giles left wing back. Midfield two, Nakamba and Pelly, standard. And then I hope it's going to be Eli, Morris, Ogbene as a front three. Or if you're not going to go with the Eli pick, Morris down the middle, Ogbene on the left, and I want to see Chong on the right.
Jamie, what about you?
Yeah, the centre half dilemma's an interesting one, and that's purely a fitness play, right? Who gets through? Bell seems like he's probably going to be out, but put in a good performance. Mengi was good. Anderson's also been good. So I think it's anyone's guess who that back three is going to be. Yeah, Doughty wing back right, Giles left. I think Kabore's been a bit harshly, I guess, treated this just based on one performance. I thought he was excellent at Fulham, excellent against Everton. So again, just for one bad performance, is it tough just to drop him probably? Although Giles himself obviously need minutes. Nakam and Pelly almost pick themselves at this stage, and then the front three. I mean, I'm a big fan of Eli left wing. I think Brown has been good, but I think Eli can also offer the same, if not a bit more. So yeah, I'd go Eli, Morris, and cheer up top.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. There are loads of different ways to go about this. Again, Kabore at right wing back. I don't agree with you. I don't think it's just been one performance. I think there have been defensive frailties in a fair few of the last games. I do think he needs a rest, but do I bring back Giles, who has also struggled defensively? That's what I'm trying to weigh up. But yeah, I think I will. I think Kabore could do with a rest. So I'll go Doughty, Burke, Mengi, Anderson, with probably Anderson in the middle and Burke maybe on the left again, assuming Lockyer. But Lockyer, is there an issue with Lockyer?
I mean, he's always injured at the minute, isn't he? His arm was hurt at the start. He's got a massive shine on his left eye. He'll probably come through, to be honest. But yeah, I mean,
it's difficult.
Yeah,
it's another one that you put an asterisk next to. Again, I think Lockyer, if he's fit enough, he will play. But yeah, it's a big question mark as to whether he will be. So yeah, that will probably sort itself out. As much as I don't really want to do this, I know you said it worked well at Everton. I didn't see that, so that's probably on me. But I'll go with Marvin Pelly. Be interesting to see if Barkley's fit, if he would be trusted in that sort of double pivot. Not too sure on that either, but I'll go with Marvin Pelly. And then as a front three, I'd probably stick with the front three at the moment because I want to see. I want to see Chong on the left. I want to see Morris down the middle, and then I want to see Ogbene on the right because I think Ogbene and Doughty, as a duo, I don't care if it's on the right or the left, is enough to frighten any team. And you mentioned defensive frailties on Tottenham's right. I think that can also be seen on the left. I think Udogie is a very attacking fullback. Then they had Brennan Johnson last time out on the left. Again, he's not known for his defensive abilities and his tracking back. So I think wherever Ogbene and Doughty will be, I think they'll cause problems on Saturday, and I think that will be the key battle from our perspective. So I will have them on the right. Now for everyone's favourite bit, some score predictions. And Kieran, I'm coming to you first.
Oh no, sorry guys, because I'm going to absolutely annoy everyone that's watching this, and they're all going to go, Kieran, you're usually the one that gives the really positive predictions. Yeah, I know. Where's the crystal ball? Oh no, I can see a Hyun-Min-Son double and a Richarlison goal somewhere. Eli will score a consolation. 3-1 Tottenham.
Cut that, Mark. Cut that negativity.
Sorry, boys.
Jamie Castle, can you bring it back up?
I have this tag of being optimistic, but I feel like I can't predict 38 wins a season, can I? So now I'm going to go with Spurs 2-0.
I don't know if this is me just trying to pick up the room, or if it is blind faith, or if it's just me saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff. But I'm going to go 2-1 Luton. I think all three of us, we've mentioned this could be the ideal game. I wasn't confident about Burnley. I was confident about Everton, and I hope I could be right about this one. Spurs have been good, but I think there is a bad performance coming. They rode their luck against Liverpool at the weekend, and hopefully we can inflict their first defeat of the season. I'm expecting a real bounce back from us on Saturday, and 12:30 kickoff. They're always exciting. It was 12:30 last season when we beat Watford. Let's hope it's another occasion like that. I'm going to go for a Morris double. I think he was. I think he was brilliant against Burnley. I think he was the only sort of player that I would give 8.5 for. So I think he'll cause problems. He'll get in Romero's head, and who knows, there might even be a cheeky little red card for Romero, because that seems to happen a fair bit. Well, that is all for today. A big thank you to the pair of you for joining me. A big thank you to everybody else watching and listening at home. We will be back on Monday to review Spurs, and it will be international break then as well, so there'll be no preview. But until the next episode, it is goodbye from us.